No, thank you. Sleepy. Come back in an hour.
Need sleepy.
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God!
It's now time for the Billy C. Morning Show, part of the Billy C. Boxing Network. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C. Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C. Morning Show. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing A-OK. And don't forget, you can catch this show every day live on your handheld device. Just visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the Fight TV banner, which is on the right-hand side, and download the app today and enjoy watching or listening to the show on your handheld. Speaking of show, today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located in St. Simons Island, Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. We'll give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. And don't forget, if you're heading south, for the winter maybe if you're a snowbird, it's a literally 15-minute out-of-your-way drive off of I-95. That includes stopping for a couple of lights. Trust me, it'll become a regular stop. The food is fantabulous. And if you mention this show, you'll get a free cannoli with your meal. So salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com for all the information on that. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by Fight TV. We're proud to be part of Fight TV. And like I said earlier, download the app for your handheld. Visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click the Fight TV banner, which is on the right-hand side. And today's show is being brought to us in part by my book. See it right there? My book. Yeah. Get a copy. Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet. It's available right now where all good books are sold. And you could literally get a copy of it by visiting Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. Find out why we got a 5-star rating across the board. If you're looking to get a signed copy, visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the book club section. Well, in the news today, I want to talk about Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. He's not his father. We know that. But he's getting another chance. As you recall, dedication, discipline has been a problem with Julio Jr., and he keeps getting chances after chances after chances. It was announced that he's fighting again in December. December 10th, he's taking on a fighter, Dominic Britisk, out of Germany, and he's going to be fighting at the super middleweight division. He's getting yet another chance. He's had more than 3. Should he be getting a chance? That's my question today. Should he be getting a chance? Joining me right now so I can get his thoughts. And this guy was a disciplined fighter, and I know that my man Sal feels very strongly about staying in shape and being disciplined and being dedicated to your sport. So welcome, Sal Rocky Senecola right now. What's up, Sal?
Good morning, Bill. How are you today, pal?
Not too bad, my man. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., he's been a spoiled, rotten kid, really, and he keeps getting all these chances, and then he screws up and he makes excuses. He's went through trainers like people go through socks, and yet again he's getting another chance. I know it's because of his pops. What do you think? Do you think he deserves one more shot? Do you think he's going to get another one if he screws this one up? I mean, what's your thoughts?
This kid's a spoiled little kid, as you just said, who's riding on the robe tails of his dad, and basically, I don't like him. I don't see where he deserves another chance. He's had plenty of opportunities, and you peel away all the layers. Give me the stuff without the fluff. You guys, you get in a ring. Can you fight? Yeah. Can you actually train and be disciplined and get in shape and go in a ring and not have excuses? Well, that's what fighters are supposed to do. And you know what? I just never liked him because you know what? Maybe because I expected to see more of his father and more of that warrior kind of spirit. But that's fallen short, well short. And I don't agree with his training style, other things, but that's him, not me. And you know what? So I just choose my opinion. I don't like him. I think he's gotten plenty of chances, and I really don't care what he does in the future. But as far as boxing, but if he's really serious about it, you don't need to go through 20 trainers or whatever the heck. Just do your stuff and give us the stuff and not the fluff. I don't want to hear anything else about it.
The thing is that remember, he was fighting a junior middledweight. Then he fought.
He's a smaller guy.
He's kind of a big guy, but
he
he was able to lose the weight.
Small once.
But yeah, he was small once. But I mean, he moved up to middleweight. Then he moved up to super middle. Then he moved up to light heavy, and that was all indicative of him not training and being able to keep the weight off. But I will say this, this guy showed some promise, in my opinion. There was a point when I really liked Junior. I liked Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. because I loved watching him work the body like his father. He never really, like you said, he never had the attitude of Pops, but he did show some promise. But then his attitude and lack of dedication and discipline really got in the way and turned a lot of people off, including myself. So I'm not so sure. I mean, everybody deserves a second chance, maybe even a third chance. But I mean, we're up there into the fourth chance with this guy. I think obviously he's getting it. He's fighting December 10th. It's a month away. Jeez, is that enough time to prepare for a fight? Maybe he needs 7-8 months. But
if he's in regional shape, he should be better, more than enough time.
And for him to. For him to look good and change his ways, then fine. If not, if he comes in overweight, and remember this guy was, before he fought for middleweight, he was fighting at 140, 147. I mean, he's, I know he was young when he started and all of that, but the truth of the matter is I think this should be his last chance.
He's got a little thick skin around his belly.
Yeah, so do I. But he's. I think this should be his last shot. I really do. But another thing I wanted to talk about is Bob Arum. Bob Arum. I think like we all know Bob Arum is kind of off the wall, and I think his latest is maybe starting to lean towards a nutcase or lost his mind. Yeah, I talked about this yesterday about him saying that Andy Ruiz Jr. has the fastest hands at heavyweight since Muhammad Ali. Literally, Larry Hazard was laughing. I laughed. You laughed. I mean, it's a joke. It's a travesty. Anybody that believes that, is sadly mistaken. But yet he comes out and he tops that yesterday by saying now they're trying to start the promotion for Mayweather Pacquiao too. All right. So he comes out yesterday and he says that Manny Pacquiao has proved that he deserves a shot with Mayweather, which I agree with. But he added that he feels that Manny Pacquiao right now is better than he ever was. I don't see that, Sal. I see Manny Pacquiao looking good, and I feel that, personally, I feel the only fight for him is Mayweather, but I do see him being competitive if he chose to fight some other current welterweight or even junior welterweight fighters. But at the end of the day, Manny Pacquiao is not as good as Manny Pacquiao of 4 years ago. What do you think?
No, of course not, and I agree with you. I mean, I've seen some of his fights from 4 or 5 years ago, and some things happen too when you're a younger fighter. You have the believability. Remember that word? Billy?
Yeah, and that is a word. That is a word.
The word.
That is a word. Sal Webster. That's what we're going to call you, Sal Webster.
You have the believability that you are invincible. No one's going to beat you. You could get hit with a sledgehammer. You're coming strong. This and that. And through the years, you get a little humbling seasoning, if you will. Maybe you realize you're a pure mortal and you're not invincible. Maybe you realize this and that. Does it change how you fight? Safety first? No, not necessarily. But you realize, wow, any given night, something could happen that you didn't plan for. And it's a humbling thing. But I think now Manny Pacquiao has reached that stage, and also Father Time has told him he's now in a 38-year-old body versus a 28-year-old body. So I think his style has changed. He's definitely not the same fighter. Just like I wasn't the same fighter when I went back in the ring 3 years ago, and I felt I was as good as I was then. But the truth of the matter is, you do have some different things that come into play when you're an older fighter. And I think he's still capable of stepping into the ring with pretty much any equal contender, and doing putting on a good performance and keep himself safe. But I don't think he's the warrior of what he was 6-7 years ago.
No way. And let's be fair. Neither's Floyd.
Floyd, yes.
Everybody's always listen. I make no mistake. I'm not a Floyd fan. You know that, but. You got to give Floyd credit because, everybody's always saying, oh, well, now, Manny Pacquiao is 38. Oh, yeah, now he wants this one. But, hey, hello, Mayweather will be 40 when he fights Pacquiao again. So, that's why I try to put it in perspective with these two guys and the paths that they've followed. And it leads to the rematch. It makes no sense. I mean, if people just want to see a young gun, beat them up, well, that's what's going to happen. And I'm not saying some of these young fighters could beat Floyd or Manny at this stage, but eventually it will. Like you mentioned, good old Father Time catches up with everybody. So when you have an even keel, in other words, when the two fighters have aged the same, and they're roughly the same age and they're fighting each other, it'll be much more competitive than if you put one older guy in against a younger guy, unless the younger guy's skill set, never was. And you can't say that about both of these guys. So that's what I think there. And another thing I want to get your thoughts on, Keith Thurman. Now, I was a big fan of Keith Thurman, right?
Yeah, so was I.
And, I really was. And then all of a sudden, Keith Thurman, after I think it was the Leonard Bundu fight, he kind of changed. He's become safety first and stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Keith Thurman, Sean Porter is right up there for Fight of the Year with Leo Santa Cruz and Carl Frampton, which I think gets the nod. But I'm giving him a lot of credit for that fight. However, he's become a legend in his own mind. This is a guy that came out and said that he's a top pound-for-pound fighter, that he garnishes, he won't fight for less than millions. He draws millions of viewers every time he fights, and all of that is utter nonsense. It's bullshit, if you will. And what am I getting at? Well, he was added. What are you getting at, Billy C? Spit it out. He's added to the broadcast for this weekend's Danny Garcia. His sparring session that's scheduled with Samuel Vargas, and Keith Thurman was added to the announcing team. Keith Thurman's not a good announcer. I can't stand that the Al Heyman fighters are always added to the broadcast. To me, it makes the broadcast worse. Now, I happen to like Spike TV because I love Dana Jacobson, and I love watching her no matter where she is. But the truth of the matter is when they add these fighters, I don't think they bring anything to the table. I did say I thought Timothy Bradley brought some good perspective to the fight last week with Pacquiao, only because he fought Pacquiao. Danny Garcia is trying to lead up to a showdown with Keith Thurman. So based on what we see and hear from Keith Thurman of late, I'm getting ready to hear Keith Thurman talking how great he is during Danny Garcia's fights. During his fight with Samuel Vargas. What do you think?
Well, yeah, that's likely to slip in there once or twice. What he'll do or what he would do and how he should be approached. It's hard to, when you're a fighter, especially an active fighter on that level. Like you said, Timothy Bradley did a great job, I thought, for what it was the other night. But I think we'll see what Keith could do. I mean, it's going to be like Kenny Rogers' song. You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk, and know when to run. You just got to see what your mouth is, like I do on the radio with you. I got to know when to say and when not to say, and all this stuff.
Well, sometimes just know when to.
Am I doing a good job?
Just know when to, shut up. But
hey, you should see. I got a 36 circumference of 36 inches around me because I'm talking my hands.
Hey, that's funny. That's funny because I have a 36 circumference around me too. Except that's just when I'm buttoning my pants, But anyway, it's a little different than what you're talking about. But yeah. So Keith Thurman's going to be announcing the Danny Garcia fight, if you want to call it that, this Saturday. And, I kind of hope Samuel Vargas throws a beating to Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia I used to be a big fan of, and I'm really, it's hard now. Chavez Jr.
The guy that was going to come back on your radio show once he made it?
He said it multiple times. I got to break out the...
Wow.
You know what?
I got a good memory for a guy that had over 165.
You know something? I got to find somebody that's willing to take all of those interviews and put them on a DVD. I have, over 13 years worth of this show, but I do have a lot of the interviews broken out that I wish somebody would do. But anyway... Chavez Jr.
that just moved to Jacksonville that probably could do that.
Hey, you let me know. No, somebody that just moved to Jacksonville is not going to do it. No, I need somebody else. But anyway, Chavez Jr. Returns December 10th. He will be fighting in Mexico, like I said, against Dominic British, I think, or Brisk, who's got a record of 32 wins, 2 losses, and a draw, with 11 of his wins coming by knockout. The fight will take place in the super middleweight division. Junior's record as it stands right now is 49 wins, 2 losses, and a draw, with 32 wins coming by knockout. I wonder who's going to be training him. Last I knew he went back to Freddie, but then he went back to his father. So I don't know. So I'm sure we'll know in the near future. Another thing I wanted to mention, a really good fight was announced that's going to be on the undercard of the B-Hop Joe Smith fight that's taking place December 17th out of Inglewood, California. It will be on HBO. In a fight that I think is really good to be looking forward to, the WBO Cruiserweight champ, Alexander Usyk, who's 10-0 with 9 knockouts, will be taking on Fabrizio Minucci. And that's a good fight, man. Minucci is a top-ranked fighter, and I'm glad that Usyk is fighting a guy that's means something in division instead of just taking a layup. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right, and it's a competitive fight. It's not a fall down. It's not an easy fight, so I think it's a good competitive fight. I think you're right.
Yeah, I mean, Machunu has been in there with some tough guys. He's got a really good record: 17 wins, 2 losses, 11 knockouts. And Usyk, he's only a 10-fight veteran. He did have a long amateur career, but he's only 10-0 with 9 knockouts right now as
I think
the
it's
champ.
Good match.
Good match. Yeah. No. Hey, that's going to be and make no mistake, B-Hop against Joe Smith is a good fight.
Oh boy, I'm
looking forward to that
because we know Joe Smith and we've seen him, and that's one of Coach's young fighters, I think, at one time. And Joe Smith, what he did that last time he was out there, pulled one hell of an upset. He's got some dangerous power, and it's going to be a classic fight because you got B-Hop, who's capable of boxing and delivering some good punches and avoiding some punches, but you got Joe Smith, who comes in there and wants to prove who he is. And it might be a passing of another baton. You never know.
Well, something. Give B-Hop credit.
I do. He's a warrior. I love the guy.
Well, here's I was never
fighting. I like to fight him.
I was never a big. Well, he's actually even younger than you, even though he's old. But I was never a big B-Hop fan until recently because you look at, like, for example, Joe Smith Jr. Beats what's his name, Fonfara, and Fonfara, I should say. And, next thing you know, everybody's avoiding Joe Smith like the plague. And who steps up? 51-year-old B-Hop, and you got to give him credit for that. But, hey, let's read an email or two. I got several of them here. First one is from my man Jesse. He says,
right.
Hey, Billy C., Are you surprised that the San Diego's Charger measure to build a new stadium failed? Where will they go now? You think they will go to L.A.? I'm very surprised that the people in the San Diego area voted against building a new stadium. Obviously, it means a tax increase. I mean, the San Diego Chargers have been in San Diego since they came into the league. I happen to like the Chargers. I always have. And I am surprised. I won't write it off yet. Sometimes things like this have a way of getting a little creative with raising the funds for a new stadium. So I won't write that off yet. Now, keep in mind, the Rams are back in L.A. And Oakland Raiders, the Raiders, who are a team not only on the rise, they're a team to really watch out for. I think they're a legit Super Bowl contender this year. They want to move to Vegas, so you never know. Don't be surprised if the Raiders do get approved, even though they need to jump through a lot of hoops and hurdles to get to Vegas. If they move the team to Vegas, I wouldn't be surprised if the Chargers slip into Oakland, So, listen, for all the California fans, don't worry yet. San Diego Chargers haven't packed their bags yet, unless they pull like what the Colts did in the middle of the night and leave Baltimore and end up in Indianapolis. But anyway, he says, what's your thoughts on Jarmito De La Torre? Is he a legit prospect? The Hammer! I think he is a legit prospect. He's 22 years old. He's 18-0 with 12 knockouts. He's a junior lightweight. He's been moving along carefully but progressively. If you take a look at his record, you'll see that this guy has been put in there carefully, but like I said, progressively. What I mean by that is he's been put in progressively harder against carefully picked opponents, which is what the name of the game is. He's currently ranked by the computer in the top 70s in the junior lightweight division, and I think he is going to be a player. Sometime maybe towards the end of next year, you'll see him positioned in the top 10 and possibly for a title shot. I like this guy. He's 18-0 with 12 knockouts, Sal. I mean, he's a guy for you to keep an eye on.
Yeah, it's pretty much my record when I was on top there. So I always like to look at that, and I'll keep my eye on him. Sounds good.
No, definitely the Hammer. And 18 wins, 12 knockouts. If you take a look at his record, you'll see that he's knocked out some veteran fighters. So I do think he's a legit prospect. Jesse, he says, what's your thoughts on Usyk taking on Machunu? Is this a worthy fight? Just like Sal and I said a couple of moments ago. I think it's definitely a worthy fight. Don't you, Sal?
Yes, I think it is. I think it's great. You got both sides, a good argument for each person to win or to do good, and I think it's not a laydown. It's a good fight.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good fight. It's a good championship fight against a guy that like I said a few minutes ago, like a legitimate top contender. I mean, Usyk isn't taking a cupcake here. He says Manny should fight Thurman Garcia winner, Sean Porter or Terrence Crawford next if he can't get the Mayweather fight. You see, now this is where I disagree.
What I don't like.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I disagree with everyone. Now, the only fight that maybe Manny takes if Mayweather doesn't fight him, which he will, maybe will be Terrence Crawford at 140, and not for anything other than being a historical fight. And you talk about passing the baton. There's no disgrace in losing to a 20-something-year-old Terrence Crawford at a lower weight than what he's been fighting at. Manny's been at the welterweight division. But personally, I don't think he needs to fight anybody other than Mayweather. If he can't get the Mayweather fight, I say he focus on his political career. What do you think?
I think you're right. I mean, you and I called it. There is no other fight, for me anyway, that makes sense to see Pacquiao go in a ring and against. And, it's Mayweather or no weather. And Mayweather or no other. I like that. Anyway, because basically Manny has done it all. He's climbed the mountain, he's come back. He's climbed the mountain, he's come back. How many times does he have to go back to the well, especially because these younger bucks coming up? He's just going to be fodder, and like you said, it's just going to take a top name to beat him. And what does he really gain if he does beat them? No big deal. He's doing what a lot of people would expect him to do. But the fight against Mayweather is still going to be a variable unknown that people are going to say, hey, Mayweather's going to beat him again at the same time. And Pacquiao's got to show us. Maybe it's a different Pacquiao that night. That's the only fight that makes sense for Pacquiao to hang around boxing. That's it.
It's the only fight for Floyd to get his 50th win against.
That's it. I mean it's a perfect scenario. They could not have the architectural detail of this fight could not have been built better for them to have a rematch, because like I said, you heard me that night of the fight. I said, no way in hell am I ever going to look at this rematch or ever going to want to see these guys fight again. And you know what? Here I am, 2 years later, a year and a half later. I'm looking at him saying, you know what? I'm kind of curious. And yeah, maybe it could be a good fight. I still think Mayweather's going to win, but I want to see, both these guys going off into the sunset, turning over the baton to the young bucks, but let's do it in a fashion where they're going to fulfill what they started out to do. That's it.
Remember, wherever you go, there you are.
And I'm here.
And I like your little, I caught that. It's a great architect to build on. Ooh, he used an architect and build, and say, now that's pretty good, Sal. That's good stuff. Mr. Sal Webster. I'm Sal Webster. I'm sorry. I got to get your name right.
Is that better than Slip Mahoney?
Yeah, well, it depends. With some of the words that come out of your mouth when you're Slip Mahoney should be in the Webster dictionary.
Perpendiculate. I can still explain that to you one day.
Yeah, perpendiculate. He says, do you like the Horn versus Ali Funica fight? Billy, will this help Horn's progression and with the level of opposition? I think it's a good fight for him and maybe an upset if Ali it doesn't get paid to lose. Horn was a guy that I thought they were moving along a little too quickly, and I think they reset his career. But Ali Funica is a definite tough fight for Horn, and Ali Funica he's running out of chances. He's running out of opportunities. So yeah, I think he's gonna get paid, but I think he's gonna try his hardest. This will be a good indication of where Jeff Horn is. At this point in his career, so yeah, I'm looking forward to that fight. Anyway, I got another email. I know you got a bolt here in a few minutes, but I got another email, and this one's from Joel, and he's asking for both of our thoughts. He says, "Hey Billy C, what are your and Sal's thoughts on Usyk getting a worthy opponent in Machunu? That will open up the Hopkins-Smith Jr. HBO triple header." I think it's a solid matchup for his American TV debut, and I can't remember the last time HBO had 2 televised fights, let alone 3, and I'm glad he's coming to the U.S. and feel he will certainly make a huge statement against Mchunu. I can't wait for that fight. Well, we've been talking about that this morning several times. I like the fight. I like the whole card. We said this a few weeks back, and just coincidental, but it seems to me HBO saw the writing on the wall, Sal, and they're finishing this year very strong.
Yes, they are. I'd like to see who was the architecture behind that.
Who built that? Who the architect built that schedule,
Built that schedule. I'll tell you what. HBO, as we said, we had our doubts middle of last year or this year, and but they are rising like the phoenix from the flames, showing maybe what we didn't know was going on with the mechanics underneath the scene, and now they're going to close out the year strong, and I give them all the credit there.
Well, don't forget they got a big fight this weekend, Luis Ortiz against Malik Scott.
Yes.
They also have the Lomachenko fight coming up. They have the Hopkins fight. They have the on the pay-per-view next week. They got the Sergey Kovalev and Ward fight. So they're finishing pretty damn strong to me.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Absolutely. Someone gave Smelling Salt.
Did I lose you? Yeah. All of a sudden, I heard it wasn't a bad. I don't think it was a bad joke. You snapped out.
It was a bad joke.
Oh God. Well,
it was a bad joke.
Maybe
That's
that.
The last time, one of the last times I fought before my comeback is they were still allowed to use smelling salts. You believe that?
Well, maybe you need to expand the circumference that you're sitting in. But, hey, Sal, I know you got to go. We'll take a short little break, and we'll be looking forward to getting you back on when we return on Monday. So, hey, have a safe trip, and we'll tell everybody what's going on with you on Monday. How about that?
Absolutely. You got it, pal. You take care. Have a great day.
All right, I'll talk to you later. Let me know how it goes.
Friend.
All right,
Thanks.
man. Take care.
Bye-bye.
We'll be back in 2.
The Billy C. Morning Show will be right back.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
Now, back to the Billy C. Morning Show. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening to the Billy C. Morning Show. I'll give a shout out to all of our Fight TV listeners. What, you're not watching on Fight TV on your handheld? Download the app. It's for free if you go to www.BillyCBoxing.com and click on the Fight TV banner, which is on the right-hand side. Download the app and watch our show and all the other great programming on Fight TV for free. Got to download it from our website. Yeah, programming note, we will not be doing a live show tomorrow. We will be back Monday, just so you know our schedule next week. Monday, we're doing a show Monday. We're off Tuesday. That's becoming a regular thing, it seems. But next week, we're going to do Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we're doing the post-Kovalev-Ward fight Saturday night. So make sure you mark those down. But we are not doing a live show tomorrow. So if anybody wants to call in right now with your thoughts, comments, questions, or whatever, I'll open up the phone lines, 845-228-8710. 845-228-8710. I got another email. This one's from my man Brett from Canada. He says, hey, Billy C. and Sal, who had to go and take care of some business. He said, I read that Chavez Jr. is returning to the ring on December 10th. Does anyone really care about this fight or this guy fighting anymore? I must admit, when he first was introduced to his father, I was excited to see another Chavez in the ring, but he sure has done nothing in his career to sustain my interest. He cannot stay in shape, and his weight issues between fights concentrates on dabbling with pot instead of boxing gameplay, and has lost his fights when he should have won. He needs to just go away and stay away. I know we talked about this, Brett, earlier in the show, and I don't know. I was excited, not because of another Chavez in the ring, but I was excited to see him work the body and stuff like that. And I agree, his little shtick has gotten old. The whole pot thing, it didn't help him. He got fined pretty big. He was suspended for a period of time. I don't know. I think this definitely should be his last shot. If he doesn't come in at weight and all those other things, I think he should stay away. He says, on another note, I want to add another point to the grassroots promoting I said last week, and the fact that maybe one way to get lifelong fans is to do something like the NFL, Play 360 does, where the fighters go into schools and do fun workouts with the kids. Many schools, due to budget cuts, are scrapping physical ed classes, and this could be a good angle. Want a lifelong fan, go after the kids and get them while they're young. I think that's a great point. Any promotion for the sport of boxing is good. unfortunately, moms and dads have this negativity feeling. They think boxing is so dangerous, but if it's taught correctly, it's just as safe as, football. But the ending phys ed in schools would be real bad if that was the case. I mean, our youth today is at an all-time out-of-shape rate. Obesity, non-activity, for the first time in history that we record, lifespans. It's projected that the youth today will not outlive their parents, which is a scary thought. So I think something has to be done with that too. So great email from my man Brett from Canada. I got some NBA and NHL scores. I got some other stuff to talk about, but first we got a caller on the line. What's your name? Where you calling from?
What's up, Billy? It's Joel.
Hey, Joel. What's happening, my man? What's going on?
What's up? I just want to let you know, Fedor Chudinov, I said in the chat, I don't know if you saw it, because I know you're busy, but Fedor Chudinov is out of the Martin Murray fight, but thankfully Martin Murray does have another opponent in his new Lawal guy, who's I've heard of before, out of Germany. He's ranked pretty high by the computer at 24, but that's for this Monte Carlo card on Saturday. But he really hasn't beaten the best of the best, so I think it's still a good fight. I'm glad Martin Murray's going to stay on the card, but I think he's going to beat this guy alive on Saturday. But I don't know if you heard that. And I'm just happy that HBO is ending the year on to continue my email. I'm just glad, like you said, HBO is ending the year on a great note. I mean, I don't know what happened the rest of the year. If it was budget issues, we've talked about this. I'd asked you this, they didn't want to take the Pacquiao fight. They don't want Pacquiao anymore or whatever. Who the hell knows? Who cares? But I'm just glad that we have all these big fights. I'm glad you have a post-fight show next Saturday. I'll be looking forward to that. I'll be tuning in. I mean, it's great. I just wish we would have more and more of this. It seemed like the summer, the summer and the early fall on both networks were just horrible. I mean, it was barely anything to watch. You had to turn on beIN Sport to watch Margarito and get excited about Margarito versus Canelo's brother. I mean, come on, it was getting horrible.
First of all, the Martin Murray, my comment on Martin Murray is, they're keeping him busy. He's obviously going to get another shot at some point. I didn't put that fight on the challenge. I tried to stay with fights that, we could watch or hear of easier. So, but yeah, I'm glad they found an opponent because they want to keep him on there and keep him active. As far as the fights, it's kind of funny. Yeah, you're right. I mean, we had a lull there for a while, but it's how quickly people forget. We had so many fights this year, 2016. Thanks to the PBC. I mean, we did see a lot of fights. The problem is exactly what my hang-up with this sport is. The PBC did put on a couple of really good fights that we got to watch, but for the most part, they were showcase-style fights. They were outmatched, one side was overmatched versus the other, and they weren't exciting. So here we are in the middle of November, and we're forgetting about all those fights because they're not exciting. Like that little montage they put on before the Pacquiao fight this past weekend was really a good example of why exciting, and I hate to say it, but not safety first style fighters are the ones that we remember. Those are the exciting fights that make those lifelong fans. And with the way boxing, and I'm sad to say it, Joel, but the way that boxing is evolving with this safety first and this boring style, I can't see young fans that are going to stay interested in the sport. I just don't see it unless something really, really changes. So I agree. HBO is finishing strong. I still have a feeling that they were ahead of the game. I think they saw the writing on the wall with the PBC, and they're doing exactly what I think. They're coming on strong, and in everybody's memory banks going into 2017 is going to be all the best fights were on HBO, and they're going to forget some of the other better fights that were earlier in the year. I just, I'm giving them the credit, even though if it was coincidental.
Yeah, I agree with that. I hope this is not a tease, and that 2017 can continue that. I've always preferred HBO's production and commentary over Showtime's. But I'm down for a PBC Showtime card. Several of them which they've laid out over the next year. As long as they keep the kind of fights, I'm happy. I just want to tell you, I just emailed you personally a article I'm just reading on one of my MMA websites. I won't tell you what or where, but you can respond to me personally when you get time this weekend. But actually interesting. It's all about what you talked about, how there's a New York Assembly leader working to solve the combat sports $1 million insurance barrier. And I'll just read you the subtitle. It says, New York Assembly leader Joseph Morel detailed the steps being taken to bring back MMA and boxing promoters to the state after passing a massive liability insurance requirement. And I don't want to get your blood boiling, but it says here the UFC officials, because there's a big pay-per-view this Saturday I'm watching at Madison Square Garden, first time ever. It says here, because just to talk numbers, it said the cost of the UFC officials said the cost approximately will be $1,675 per athlete. The card is featuring 13 fights for a total of over $40,000. So obviously there's a different, as you said, there's not that insurance cost for the UFC, but nonetheless you can read this article and it's interesting. It seems like obviously they want the boxing back. They want MMA there. I know UFC has a card. They actually announced last night they're going to be coming back to the Barclays. They're going to be coming to the Barclays Center in February. So yeah, I'm glad that somebody woke up and saw this, because I want to see boxing at Barclays. I want to see boxing at MFG, or the little, like the Ludabellas and Joe DeGuardi and all these other guys. I want to see boxing back in New York, and I'm glad somebody, before it took years and months, it seems like only weeks, someone's already woken up and said, we got to fix this.
Joe, I say this all the time. Boxing needs boxing people running it. You look at my man Larry Hazard. He's a boxing guy, and what does he do for a living? He's the boxing commissioner in New Jersey. It makes sense when things get put in front of him. He thinks, not only for the good of the fighter, but for the good of the sport. He understands the sport and the business of the sport. He's been involved in sanctioning bodies, et cetera, et cetera. New York, and even though it has such a rich heritage, New York was a prime example of someone else that doesn't know a left hook from a fish hook making a decision for boxing. And on paper and in front of the lawmakers, adding the extended safety feature, especially on the heels of the Mago Abdulzumov catastrophe, looked good. The problem is none of them who voted and put it in play understand the sport of boxing and, more importantly, the business of boxing. So they pass a law. It's like all of a sudden, putting out a new drug without testing it, and then people take it to fix arthritis, and they end up having heart attacks. It's the same thing. They put a law in place, not even realizing that they made boxing in the state impossible. So it's ludicrous. And, it seemed to me for the last 10 years, the state of New York was trying their hardest to outlaw the sport. And I say this, for all the states that don't want boxing, just outlaw it. End it. It's that simple. End it. Outlaw it. The promoters will go someplace else. We got Connecticut. We got Massachusetts, on the East Coast. You got Jersey. You got plenty of places. You got, of course, Vegas and everywhere else. But forget it. New York is a foolish commission, especially with the guy running it now. He's not a boxing guy. Eric Bentley was a kid that they brought in to help with medicals about 4 years ago. Then all of a sudden was promoted to the assistant to David Berlin. David Berlin gets cut, and he gets moved into the position, and he's kind of just sitting there. They're waiting to appoint somebody else that they'll put in out of left field that doesn't know anything about the sport. I say they should just outlaw it in New York.
I'm serious. I'm not just trying to kiss his ass. They should bring Larry Hazard to New York, or maybe have him as a consultant to New England. I mean, I think if Larry Hazard was running New York or Nevada, which too, they're crazy, not as crazy as New York. I think we'd have everybody happy. The politicians, the safety people, the businesses, the promoters, the fans, everyone would be happy. I know New Jersey's struggling right now. They closed a couple casinos last month or 2 months ago. It's struggling. And, And God bless, Larry Hazard, because he's a great guy, and he's a boxing person first, which is awesome. But they need more people like that, because they're destroying, a sport in a state that's, it's the Mecca. I mean, boxing, in Madison Square Garden, it's Barclays Center. You're destroying something that has such a rich history.
I know, and it's sad. It's sad, but if you can't make it possible to put on these events, then forget it. I mean, hey, listen, I promoted in the state of New York, and I ended up promoting in other states because it was just financially all the rules and regulations and costs and expenses that go into doing a show in New York made it impossible to make money unless you're getting revenue streams from other sources like TV. So I went and did, not that I ever made a killing in doing promotion, but I went to other states that worked with. Hey, let me tell you, there's many other states, boxing commissions, that work with promoters. They try to entice promoters to do shows in their states. New York, they seem to push people away. They don't want it. They make it harder. Everything is a nightmare in the state of New York. Hey, before we let you go, 2 big fights this weekend. I want to get your thoughts on. Danny Garcia, Samuel Vargas. I'm not looking for it to be too, challenging for Danny Garcia. As a matter of fact, I think Danny Garcia, I lose a lot of credibility for Danny. I was a big fan of Garcia, but I think his last couple of fights are showing that maybe Danny Garcia is really choosing the easiest way he can find out.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not going to be watching it. I'll be watching the UFC pay-per-view. But, if I had to, if there was something else on, yeah, sure, I'd put it on. I've heard of Samuel Vargas before. I know he's fought. I think did he fight Errol Spence? He fought one of the PBC cards in an undercard against one welterweight, and he got demolished. I don't know. I guess Danny Garcia is going to stop him early. Was Coach talking to the chat room that they may announce the Thurman fight right after that, which I think is already on a Showtime schedule next year. Great fight, but this is just pathetic. I think after the Mauricio Herrera fight, he said, "Oh, that's too much of that's a tune-up. That guy's too tough. I got to go easy. I got to get the Rod Salkas and the Samuel Vargases." I mean, it's pathetic. It really is. I mean, that's all I can say. I'm glad I have something huge to watch this week, because it would be hard for me to watch that fight. I mean, there's 2 other fights. You got Jojo Dan fighting, what is it, Jared Hurd, and then Omar Douglas and somebody, I forget who else. Yeah. But, it's a good 3-card fight, for who is watching, and I hope they enjoy it. But that main event's going to be a squash. Yep,
I agree. And Danny Garcia, I mean, the PBC, or specifically Al Heyman, although it appeared that he was helping fighters, which he probably did financially in terms of them getting accelerated and bigger purses than they should have, I think he's really ruined the sport in a sense. And the reason why I say this is because this safety first is the way all fighters are going. And I don't blame a fighter for making maximum money, taking the least amount of risk. But the long-term effects will be what I keep saying, that these fight fans are not going to... How long... If a new young fight fan got into watching it, and they're putting up with these kinds of fights, how long will they stay interested when they know, like, for example, the Danny Garcia against Samuel Vargas fight, everyone knows that Danny Garcia is going to win this fight. The only way Vargas wins this fight is if he knocks Danny Garcia out. I mean, even if he beats the shit out of him for 12 rounds, he's not going to win the fight. I mean, they're not going to give it to him.
Garcia will win 118, 110 if Vargas beats the shit out of him.
Yeah, it's a joke. One last fight. I mean, Luis Ortiz. A lot of people think that he's the one of the best, if not the best heavyweight. I know our very own Alex Perpali thinks he's the best heavyweight out there. He's taking on Malik Scott. Malik Scott was showing us a promising future until he fought Deontay Wilder in what many people believe was a fixed fight. Luis Ortiz, I got to call Luis Ortiz a couple of his fights early in his career when he first came over. And there were times when I wasn't impressed. It seems like he fights to the level of his opposition. It seems like he fights to the atmosphere he's in. How's he going to perform this week when apparently he's given up his interim belt? So technically he has no belt, but he is taking on Malik Scott, and he wants to be a world champion. I think he's in line for somebody, maybe the winner of Klitschko Joshua in early 2017, or need I even say Deontay Wilder? I mean, if he decides to ever fight a real fight, maybe Luis Ortiz gets put in. I mean, what's your thoughts with Ortiz Malik Scott? That fight you can watch. It starts at 4 on HBO.
Yeah, no, I got a couple. I'm gonna try to find the stream for the Robert Stieglitz fight. He's fighting for the EBU. I think he's fighting light heavyweight now. There's MMA. There's mixed martial arts from England on before on the UFC streaming service. I'm going to watch that, definitely. Whatever's on, I'm going to put that on. I think Malik Scott will hopefully not take a dive. I think Luis Ortiz beats him in the mid to late rounds. I don't think it's going to be a very hard fight for him. Malik Scott, I think he's coming off the Tony Thompson victory on that PBC Unbound. Was it even last year? I think it's been a long time. My question to you, quickly, let's turn this into a question, is, it seems like Anthony Joshua is an absolute megastar in the UK. Do they put him in dangerous against, after he fights Klitschko? I'm assuming he would beat Klitschko, even though it's a dangerous fight. It's still, but do you this guy's on the cover of magazines, of fitness magazines in the UK. He's everywhere. He's marketable. Fans like him. I love AJ. He's great. But I tell you, if he's a mandatory for if Ortiz is a mandatory for AJ, man, that's dangerous. I'd rather him go to I love Luis Ortiz too. I'd rather him go the route where he's a mandatory, hopefully for Deontay Wilder, because in the UK he's the biggest thing I've seen in a long time. Period.
Yeah, but
all over the world.
But listen to what you're saying. I mean, listen. Boxing should put the best against the best. And if if one guy loses, that shouldn't end his career. So if Anthony Joshua fights Luis Ortiz, and let's say Ortiz beats him, that shouldn't take Anthony Joshua off the magazine covers in England and make him his. It shouldn't. I mean, that's the problem with the mentality of the fan bases today. When they feel, and that's Floyd Mayweather's fault for marketing how important the O is, that's the problem. To me, I respect the fighter more for taking the challenges and the risks and then rebound from it. If Anthony Joshua loses to Klitschko and then fights a couple more times and comes back and beats him, or comes back and beats a Luis Ortiz, that's better. Muhammad Ali, Muhammad Ali, one of the greatest fighters ever, came back from a loss and avenged a loss, and we ended up seeing 3 great fights with Joe Frazier. I mean, come on. Fighters, there's nothing like a fighter that loses to a fighter, an opponent, and then comes back and beats him. That used to be the norm in the sport. Today, it's an exception.
The one thing is in UFC is when Conor McGregor lost last March, he never lost any star power. He got his rematch. He won it. He's headlining in MSG on Saturday. There's one guy I've seen who's lost, and, like you said, fought the best. Well, his opponent's okay, but, fought a great guy, lost, took it like a man, came back, and never lost any support. You're right. There are examples of it, and hopefully, I should not say what I said about Ortiz. You're right. They should fight the best, rebound like Muhammad Ali, and and see what happens. But look, I'm going to let you go. I've been talking a lot, and I hope you have a great weekend. I'll miss the show tomorrow, but I'll see you Monday when I get back from the gym, whatever was left of the show. And I thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoy football. Who are the Jets playing this weekend?
I think the Rams, but the Jets are the Jets season is over. It's a joke, and I tell you what, it's another joke. Football talk is the Dallas Cowboys. It's reported that they're going to be starting Tony Romo over Dak Prescott, which makes no sense. Dak Prescott's led them to. Is
it because they paid him $20? Isn't he making like $20 million a season or something?
Who, Romo?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
That's hard. Oh, my
some
God.
mentality in the sport always says that an injury shouldn't bench a player. And I don't know, man. In the sport of football, specifically the NFL, it's all about winning the Super Bowl. And this kid, Dak Prescott's the real deal. I wouldn't.
Yeah, he is.
I
I've
mean,
heard
you
that.
can't stop the momentum of the Cowboys right now and put in Tony Romo. And nothing for nothing, but Tony Romo hasn't done anything for the Cowboys. He's choked in all the big games, and I don't.
Injury-prone.
Yeah, he's no spring chicken either. You know, so I'd go with Dak Prescott. I'd have Tony
too.
Romo on the side, and hey, listen, all you got to do is remember a guy's name by Tom Brady. Tom Brady was a bench quarterback. Bledsoe got hurt against the Jets. They bring in Brady. And then Bledsoe never never started another game for the Patriots, and you know that's good coaching, that's smart decision making, and the Cowboys should look in the history books of the Patriots, see that they've won all those Super Bowls behind Tom Brady, and he was a guy that filled in for the injured starter, you know. So I don't know, man. I think Jerry Jones is making a big mistake here.
I agree. I'm very disappointed to hear that. I did hear he was coming back, but I didn't know they were going to start him. I really hope that if he does start, they have a bad game and they bench him.
Yeah,
because
well,
you can't fix what's not broken.
I'll tell you who should get benched is Ryan Fitzpatrick, but that's another story.
Who's real quick? Who's the kid? There's I think it was Joe Namath last week or 2 weeks ago said that he spoke out loudly saying that there's a rookie, a third stringer, or something that they should let start for the Jets. And you know about this kid?
Well, they have two young quarterbacks, the Jets. One is actually a second-year guy. His name is Bryce Petty. He's from Baylor. He's the guy that should be starting. The rookie quarterback they drafted out of Penn State, his name is Christian Hackenberg, and he's not very good. I mean, he had a good freshman year for Penn State. He did get injured, and then Penn State had no line for him, or no receivers, no running back, no nothing, and he did very poorly for the rest of his collegiate career. Like in true Jet fashion, they picked a bum. They passed on the kid Lynch from that ended up going to the Broncos. I think his last name was Lynch, Paxton Lynch. Yeah, I think that's who it was, from Memphis. They should have went with him. And because he's going to be a stud in the NFL. But anyway, no, if I'm the Jets, I bench Fitzpatrick and I put in Bryce Petty, see how he does. They got nothing to lose. I mean, their season's over. They're not going to the playoffs, so
yeah.
It's
all right, buddy.
It's time to experiment.
I always love your insight on the football because you know a lot about, especially about the Jets. I'm not a big Jets fan, but I'd love to see this Bryce Petty come in and make a big impact, and then shut up, Fitzpatrick and Bowles or whatever his name is, that coach, and do something. Make the last part of the season, memorable. But look, I'll let you go. I hope you have a great weekend. Enjoy your football. Enjoy your boxing, and we'll reconvene next week, my friend.
Sounds good, Joel. Take care.
Take care. Bye bye.
Joel's got me talking about the Jets now, but. Not only is Ryan Fitzpatrick, or like one of my listeners suggested, I call him Ryan Shitzpatrick. Not only is he a bum, because he is. I mean, he's a rich bum. He got $12 million. But he's not an NFL starting quarterback. He doesn't have the caliber of today's starting quarterback. Yes, he had a great year for the Jets last year. So what? All you got to do is look at the rest of his career, and you'll see the same Fitzpatrick that we see this year for the Jets. Throwing interceptions. He leads the NFL in interceptions. He makes bad decisions. He throws into double and triple coverage all the time. He thinks he's got the confidence that he's, Peyton Manning or John Elway or Dan Marino, which he's not. Brandon Marshall, a top NFL receiver, was in his corner. If you missed it last week, they had to be separated. He was in his face, basically saying, "What the hell are you doing? Can't you even get the ball near me?" Ryan Fitzpatrick sucks. The Jets season is over. Okay, yes, they signed C.J. Spiller. Where is he? He's a running back. You couldn't put him in a game last week. I think that he had a spot. I think he was returning a punt or something. But I mean, it's the coaching, boys and girls. Todd Bowles is terrible. He's not an NFL. He was great as a defensive coordinator for the Cardinals, but he's not a coach. I saw today in the news that half the Jets are the discipline factor for the Jets is one of the worst. You got the starting guys not showing up for team meetings and stuff. Sheldon Richardson, a guy that I feel they should keep. They were trying to make a trade with the Dallas Cowboys. And it turns out that not only does he does come with some baggage. He's had some issues outside the NFL and outside the season, some arrests and stuff. Aside from that baggage, his contract is up, so he's going to be wanting big bucks next year. He's a quality player. There's no question about it. There's a guy that doesn't show up for meetings. There's a guy that comes in overweight, that doesn't train properly, that doesn't give it his all in training and in practice. Listen, you got to practice like you play. Any coaching staff that is more lenient with players during practice ends up with a losing record. All you got to do is look at the Jets. The Jets coaching staff has lost the team, and their season, and for us Jet fans, is another lost season. I can't stand Ryan Fitzpatrick. I don't like Todd Bowles. He's not the coach of the future. Who is? I don't know the answer to that. The Jets are cursed. The Joe Namath era, which I was at least lucky enough to be part of, jinxed us. But fights this weekend, Luis Ortiz against Malik Scott. I don't think it's going to be much of a challenge, but I am looking forward to seeing Luis Ortiz in the ring on TV, so I'll be looking forward to that fight. Danny Garcia, I'm really going to be keeping an eye on Danny Garcia and see how he performs, because this fight against Samuel Vargas, especially if it's the prelude to a showdown with Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia needs to come out and take care of business quickly. He needs to beat Samuel Vargas easily. If this fight goes a distance or if it becomes a chess match, Danny Garcia doesn't stand a chance with Thurman. And I'm really going to have my mute button on for the fights this weekend, because I'm dreading to hear what Keith Thurman is going to say. It's going to be a lot of him talking about himself. You watch. Getting you caught up on some other sports scores. In the NBA last night, the Battle of New York, the Knicks and Nets, was won by the Knicks, 110-96. And I was looking at the point spread, and it was 8.5 points the Knicks were getting. And I said to myself, man, that seems pretty strange. I mean, the Knicks aren't that good of a team. I know the Nets aren't either, but 8.5 points. And I personally stayed away from the game, and rightfully so. Not only did they cover, they extended that. They won 110-96. Kristaps Porzingis led the way for the Knickerbockers, 21 points, 8 rebounds, and an assist. The Wizards topped the Celtics, 118-93. Otto Porter Jr. Had 34 points, 14 rebounds, and 4 assists for the Wizards. The Hornets beat the Jazz, 104-98. Kemba Walker, 21 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists. The Timberwolves beat the Magic, 123-107. Zach LaVine, 37 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists. The Pacers outlasted the 76ers in overtime, 122-115. Jeff Teague, 30 points, a couple of rebounds, and 9 assists for the Pacers. The Hawks beat the Bulls, 115-107. Thabio Sefolosha had 20 points, 5 rebounds, and an assist for the Atlanta Hawks. The Raptors beat the Thunder from down under, 112-102. DeMar DeRozan, 37 points, 4 rebounds, and 6 assists for the Raptors. The Suns topped the Pistons, 107 to 100. Eric Bledsoe, 21 points, 11 rebounds, and 8 assists for Phoenix. The Rockets topped the Spurs, 101-99 in a really competitive game. James Harden had a triple-double, 24 points, 12 rebounds, 15 assists. Congratulations to Harden on that one. And the Clippers beat the Trailblazers, 111-80. Blake Griffin, 22 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists. And to wrap up the NBA schedule, Kevin Durant led the Warriors over the Mavericks 116-95. Durant had 28 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 assists in last night's late game. Over in the NHL, we only had 3 games. The Blue Jackets and the Ducks went into overtime, and the Blue Jackets prevailed 3-2. The Senators over the Sabres 2-1 in a shootout, and in another overtime game. In my opinion, the best team in hockey, I should say, the Blackhawks topped the Blues 2-1 in overtime. So NHL had overtime and shootout games for all 3 of the games on the schedule. And speaking of schedule, if you missed it, we will not be doing a live show tomorrow. I'm sorry for the short notice, but something has come up that will derail us from doing a live show tomorrow. So we will return on Monday. We will be off on Tuesday, but we'll be back Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we're doing the Kovalev-Andre Ward post-fight show 6 minutes after the official announcement is named. And I'm getting some grief from my man, the Gift Media, in the chat room. He's saying, I can tell you don't watch the NBA a lot. You can't pronounce the names. Gift Media, have you ever watched me? Can I pronounce any names? I mean, give me a break. It's not just the NBA. You know, the hockey guys, I can't even come close to them. And a lot of the fighters, hey, listen, I am bad with pronouncing names. I mean, what can I tell you? You know, I'm a stupid boxing guy. But I do watch the NBA a little bit. It's not my top sport. I mean, boxing and football are my 2 top sports. I also like fishing, you know, but it's hard to call those games. But anyway, how about this? On this day, November 10th in 2007, David Haye knocks out Jean-Marc Mormac in the 7th round to win the WBC and World Cruiserweight titles, and that took place in France. You know, you guys hear me being critical of David Haye all the time. When he was a cruiserweight, he wasn't bad, but he did avoid Christoph Vlad He went up to heavyweight and then was a complete fraud, and to this day is even less than a fraud. So he shined 9 years ago today in his win against Mormac. On this day, November 10th in 1972, Rodolfo Gonzalez knocks out Chango Carmona in the 13th round to win the WBC lightweight title. Took place in Los Angeles, California. On this day in 2006, Steve Molitor knocks out Michael Hunter in the 5th round to win the vacant IBF junior featherweight title, and that took place in England. On this day in 1978, Larry Holmes knocks out Alfredo Amvigelista. See, I can't pronounce boxing names either. In the 7th round to retain his WBC World Heavyweight fight, took place at Caesars Palace in Vegas. On this day in 1983, Marvin Hagler wins a 15-round decision over Roberto Duran to retain his WBC, WBA, and IBF World Middleweight titles, and that took place at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas. For all you guys that don't know, Caesars Palace was like the place to have boxing events in the 70s and through the 80s. It's a shame that we don't see them there as much anymore. And finally, on this day, November 10th in 1965, the best ever and former world welterweight and middleweight world champion, world light heavyweight title challenger, and boxing Hall of Famer. And like I said, the best ever, Sugar Ray Robinson, lost a 10-round decision to Joey Archer in their middleweight fight in Pittsburgh. This was Sugar Ray Robinson's last professional fight. He finished his Hall of Fame career with a record of 173 wins, 108 by knockout. He had 19 losses, in which he was only stopped one time on this day in 1965 against Joey Archer, and he had 6 draws. You know, for anybody that devalues a fighter with losses, even a guy with double-digit losses like Sugar Ray Robinson, just don't know boxing. Sugar Ray Robinson, 173 wins, 108 knockouts. He's got twice as many knockouts, more than twice as many knockouts than Floyd Mayweather will have fights when it's all said and done. And that's assuming Floyd fights 2 more times. Floyd can't even fight enough to be half of his total fights, half of Sugar Ray Robinson's knockouts alone. So anybody that doubts who the greatest fighter of all time is, just punch up a guy by the name of Sugar Ray Robinson. Hey, man, that concludes our show. We will be back on Monday morning, so make sure you tune in Monday morning at the same bat time, same bat channel as you always do. Until then, ciao, baby.